Welcome to Movie Mondays, a new weekly thing I want to do once a week so I can talk about movies. One, to gain a little consistency here, and two, because I like movies. At the end of every video, though, I'm gonna let you know what movie I'm gonna talk about next week. So if you haven't seen it yet, you can have it not spoiled for you by watching it first. So yeah, spoilers. A Quiet Place is John Krasinski's fourth director credit, and if you've never heard the name before, you probably recognize this guy. Even if you've never watched The Office or haven't heard of The Office, you probably recognize his face. I want to say going into this that I was really excited for this movie. I loved a lot of people involved with it, and I thought it was a pretty neato concept. A Quiet Place is a horror thriller movie, but I would hesitate to call it a horror movie because I was never really that scared. Like, jump scares got me, but I'm just a jumpy person. Like, there was the part where the wife slammed her hand against the shower and made me jump. Even though 3 seconds before that, in my head I went, hey, wife's gonna slam her hand against that. And it still made me jump. And then my friend proceeded to giggle because it made me jump, and I was just left like, yep, the jump scare got me. What are you gonna do, right? I was impressed by the way the monster looked, though, and I mean, the overall quality of the film was good. I don't know when things were shot and focused and that was well framed were really great compliments, but they did those things, so woo! The acting in the film was pretty good, and that's even including the child actors. These kids obviously know how to display emotion with their bodies and faces, but the problem is that leaves the other 50% of acting that they just didn't do well. However, I would definitely say I was more impressed than displeased, so the acting of the adults in the film was good. I mean, I wasn't like surprised by it. It just seemed like two talented actors were acting. I wasn't like, whoa, that's revolutionary! So my major problems with the film center completely around the logic that the film sets up. The rules of the universe are set up pretty quickly. The monsters are attracted to noise and have a really strong hearing ability, so great, that's pretty simple. So then why does it feel like half these characters don't understand these rules, or at the very least can't grasp the importance of these rules? Like, the first big thing that happened in this movie is the fact that the kid dies because against what his dad told him, he took this toy plane. Granted, the older sister did give him the toy plane, but he went back for the batteries. So this must not be a new thing. Obviously, if the child doesn't understand why he can't take the plane, surely the parents would keep a watchful eye on their kids, but no. They just put it down and are like, all right, now follow us, and leave him to his own devices. But then later the dad takes the older son to this river, presumably to catch fish and so that they can eat them. It is set up that the monsters have become used to and adjusted to these louder noises so they can make smaller noises around the louder noises. The problem is that this is well after 400 days of the monsters showing up. Well over a year, and the kid is just now learning about this? What about the rest of the family? Does the wife know? Does the 9 months pregnant wife know that if you go next to this waterfall, you can shout as loud as you want? The 9 months pregnant wife who eventually will need to go into labor, that she can just shout next to this thing? Does she know? And if she does she just want to make her life as hard as possible? But that's what a lot of the movie feels like, though, is just all of these characters making their lives as hard as possible. Like, they had a kid that died because he either didn't understand the rules or they weren't good enough parents to watch them, and in the world where these creatures exist, they decide to have another baby. Like, there's this part where the wife is downstairs doing laundry, and when she goes back up the stairs, something gets caught and pulls a nail out. Like, it bink, comes up like that. It bink, like that, a nail. Okay, but why was the nail nailed in from the bottom instead of the top? Like, what incompetent person built this house? I almost feel like they had to have gathered like around a table and gone, okay, so what's one way we can make our life more difficult? And the dad just went, oh, I know. I'll just take a bunch of nails and hammer them in upwards through the stairs. And so that way, if one day somehow we pull one up and one of us steps on us, that'll give us the real 1-2, the roundabout. While we're talking about basements, let's talk about the other basement, the soundproof basement they have. Of course, it's established that they didn't know if the creatures could hear them in there, but how was this not tested before? Like, why did they not put like a music box in there and go to a safe location somewhere else and play the music box, and then they would know, can the creatures hear us down there? Which brings up the question, like, let's assume they've considered the waterfall thing. They sat down and were like, all right, there's this waterfall, we can go next to it, make as much noise as we want, do we move there? And there's some logistical thing, there's information that the audience doesn't have that makes it impossible for them to move there. So why are they not hanging out in the soundproof basement more? I guess it doesn't matter very much though, because later when the wife goes into labor and then she steps on the nail, I mean, maybe she stepped on it before? I don't know. Nonetheless, because movie, the wife steps on the nail and goes into labor within minutes of each other. And because of this, I guess she drops some shit down the stairs or whatever, drawing the monsters towards her. The monsters end up showing up and tearing up the place, but fortunately, Daddy Krasinski gets back in time to get her into the baby bunker. But uh-oh, the monster hit a pipe or something, and so now the bunker is filling with water. And then the wife wakes up 2 scenes later, and it's completely filled with water, and there's a monster in there, and so she gets up slowly, picks up the baby, and leaves the bunker. So there goes the bunker in 4 scenes, three or 4 scenes. Guess you'll have to find somewhere else, you know? I guess you'll have to find somewhere else. Maybe with somewhere with a loud noise that the creatures are used to so you can actually talk around, because this is information that we know. And look, like I said, maybe there was a logistical reason that they couldn't go to the waterfall. Like, maybe there were fucking dragons there or some shit. But then it is revealed later that in the nail basement, the dad had an entire setup of a microphone, an active, working, plugged-in loudspeakers. Why are we not playing some loud noise out of those, huh? That would drown out all the other loud shit that you want to do. Ultimately, not even needing the baby bunker in the first place. And sure, it would attract monsters at first, but then you just go away for a week, you know, and then come back when the monsters are used to it. The other thing that's set up pretty early on is that the daughter is deaf, and it's communicated to the audience pretty well by the fact that whenever the daughter is shown in close-up, the entire audio cuts out. And it's also nice because it explains why the entire family knows sign language. And later it's shown that the dad is working on a new hearing aid for his daughter in hopes that she'll be able to hear again, but about a third or like halfway through the movie, he gives her a new one that emits a high frequency that in the end turns out to be the weakness. The weird thing about this is the way it's shown. Like, there are several scenes where the girl, like, you see the girl struggling with the high-pitched frequency and the monster is having problems as well. But then in the end, the girl just looks at a whiteboard her dad had, and it just says, "What's the monster's weakness?" And then she's like, "That's it. I figured it out. I'm a genius, Mom." The door just closed outside. Am I getting arrested? Am I about to get arrested? What just happened? I'm just shouting up here in my apartment. I'm gonna close the door right now. I don't need strangers hearing me yell. What the fuck? So what she does is she takes the hearing aid and presses it against the microphone and turns on the loudspeakers, which destroys the monster's protective shell, I guess, and the mom just shoots it with the shotgun. And then the movie's over. Presumably they killed the other two with the same strategy. If only you had figured this out like 30 minutes before. Then your dad would still be alive, probably. Anyways, those are my thoughts on A Quiet Place. I'm changing my grading scale from the percentages to letter grade, so A to F, like the school systems. This one's getting a big old fat C. Not a minus, not a plus, a big old fat, just a plain old C. C's your grade. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed the first episode of Movie Monday. I'm going to use this series to hopefully talk about new movies or shows. And also talk about movies that I haven't seen yet. Because there are some big ones that have been out for a while that I haven't seen yet. And then I just want to talk about them. So next week, even though I've seen it, it's just been a really long time, we're going to talk about Ridley Scott's Alien. Also, leave your hot suggestions in the comments of movies you'd love for me to talk about. All right. Bye-bye.